welcome to the HeartWorking Dad podcast. I am your host, Gabriel Perez, and this is the podcast for Christian fathers looking to do the hard work of heart work. And the purpose of this podcast is to help fathers in the pursuit of being spiritual and practical leaders in the home. I am your host, Gabriel Perez. A little bit about myself. I've been with my wife for 19 years. We have 3 kids, 11, 8, and 3. My wife and I both work full-time jobs, and we homeschool our kids. And somewhere in the cracks, it's messy, it's tough, it's our life, and it's awesome. And tough. Awesome and tough. I mean, that's what we're doing. Anyways, I guess I just felt the need to be a little open about it being tough. But also, in addition to that, I'm a certified biblical parenting coach at the National Center of Biblical Parenting Association. It's a mouthful. Let's jump into this episode. I want to talk about affirmation versus validation. Something that I have struggled with in my marriage and in just me personally in life is validation. The search for validation. And if you've read Wild at Heart, maybe you haven't read Wild at Heart by John Elders, one of the greatest books I've read. It's changed my life. But he talks about validation as this question that a man has, an unanswered question. And in it, we take this question to everything. Like your job, searching to, am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? We're looking for validation in our job. We're looking for validation in our marriage. We're looking for validation in what we do. As men, it's just a struggle. We're always wanting the validation that we have what it takes, that we are good enough. And that can be very unhealthy. And here's the definition of validation. The action of checking or proving the validity or accuracy of something. So right there, proving, having to prove something. I think we all as men have something to prove, something to show. And I think in that proving, in that showing, there can rest pride. There can just rest this constant search that can't be satisfied. And it can do a lot of damage. Because what we really need is not validation, but affirmation. And affirmation only comes from God. Let me read you the definition of affirmation. The definition of affirmation is the assertion that something exists or is true. Something that exists or is true. But let me read to you what I found later was a spiritual definition, which I really liked. And that is, it is a statement of truth which aspires to absorb into their life. Statement of truth that aspires to absorb into your life, my life. And when I think of affirmation, I think of Jesus. Jesus needed affirmation. Jesus was given that affirmation when he started his ministry. When he got baptized, God came and said, "This is my son in who I am well pleased." It was a truth. It was fact. It was absorbed into Jesus' life, and then the beginning of his ministry started. Men, that's something we need. Affirmation can only come from God. True affirmation. And I think we can definitely model that to our sons and our daughters. We can affirm them. That's always a good thing. Like, I'm proud of you. That's a statement. That's a true statement that they can absorb. I am proud of you. I love you. You know, these are things we can say to our children that they need to hear. And I think as men, we either didn't hear it enough in our childhood so that we start looking for it in all these different areas. And it's important that we understand that. We understand the difference. It's good for your wife to say, "Hey, I love you. I'm proud of you." Those are good things. They are affirming things. But it can't be what we truly seek to find. Because then if that's what I'm doing, Like if I'm just looking for my wife's, I'm proud of you, I love you, you're a good father, then it becomes this validating thing where now I'm trying to prove that. I'm trying to, versus it just being a statement of truth. So we have to know the balance that we're having in this pursuit. Is it, am I seeking to find validation, or am I just allowing the process of being affirmed? One is on my own strength, one is just a natural occurrence of your living. God loves you. That's an affirming statement because it's true. And God bestows this identity. God gives us this affirmation. And I really just want to hammer the point that it could be really dangerous for us as men to put that, all of our validation, on our spouse. And we have to be careful. We have to be careful of how we navigate that, how we put that question, or where we're getting validation from. It's just, are you seeking it? Are you working to prove it? Because I don't have to work for God's love. I don't have to do anything different for him to love me. He loves me. And I think that when we come from that place, it can allow us to navigate those waters. It is a tough road. It's a tough way to navigate the affirmation versus validation. But what I've found has helped me is to go back to who God says I am, what he thinks about me, that I'm loved, that I'm cherished, that I'm the apple of his eye. These are things that I have to rest on, that my identity rests not in what I do, but who I am. And I am a son of God. That right there is enough. So my challenge to you, gentlemen, is to ask yourself the question, heart check moment. Where are you taking this question of validation? Are you taking it to your job? Are you looking for your job to tell you who you are? Are you taking it into your spouse? Are you taking it into how you look to the outside world? Are you taking it into ministry? This is something that I have to really be careful with, really navigate carefully, because this can easily be a validating thing. Look at him, he's a good father. Look at him, he does this. Look, the truth is I'm in the same boat as you. I struggle. I make mistakes. I am not perfect at all. I just had to apologize to my son this morning for losing my patience. So where are you taking that question? And the encouragement is that God sees you. God affirms you. You are a son of God. And a lot of this journey that we go through in life is getting that answered. Allowing our hearts that process of becoming a son of God, of being affirmed by God. It's like we know the truth, but in God's grace, it takes time to take full root. And he's growing that seed. He's leading us in this journey. So I would just encourage you that it's okay. It's a process. It's something that we have to work at as men, not to get that. There I go, saying work. But we have to allow Jesus the space in our hearts to do the hard work of heart work. There's work in heart work because it requires us to excavate, to dig. We have to dig out some strongholds. We have to dig out some wounds. We have to take the weeds out. We have to till that soil in our heart to make it fertile for God to do his thing. And that's a process we get to do with God. And I feel like I'm going into a whole nother episode of something else. But the encouragement is just know you are enough in God's eyes. All right. And so that's the end of this podcast. couple things if drawing blanks. I have some resources. The HeartWorking Dad Family Plan. If you're struggling on really balancing your time, your schedule, this plan helps you to schedule your priorities, not prioritize your schedule. And a lot of that is investing in the relationships that matter most. So I have a HeartWorking Dad plan. You can go to heartworkingdad.com to get there. And also, if you fill out that interest form, I'm going to be releasing my HeartWorking Dad course. It's a really good course. I've seen it. I've worked it with men. I've had men do it on their own, and there's just been a lot of feedback, a lot of great feedback, and it's honestly done a lot of good things, and I'm really proud of it. And so I'm working on making that a self-guided course that men can go through on their own time and at a pretty cheap price. So if you're interested, if you'd like to be a part of that wait list as I fix some things and start to unroll it, you can send me an email when you fill out the interest form at theheartworkingdad.com. And with that said, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review. It helps spread the message, help spread this word to just help fathers in their journey and to do that hard work of heart work.